It's October the 18th, 2025, and I hope everybody's been having a wonderful day so far today. We are up here on the Nantahala River in Bryson City, North Carolina. We got up really early this morning and drove up here. It's about a 4.5-hour drive, not including stops. And we got up here, I guess, probably about noon, had some lunch, and hopped on the train. We were supposed to take this train ride back in June when we came up here for vacation, but I ended up getting that gastroparesis like I was talking about in yesterday's video. We had been going out to eat a whole bunch, and anytime I go out to eat a lot, I can't digest it. It just doesn't agree with me very well. And like I said, we were here, we were supposed to go on the train ride, and I ended up getting sick, and we left and went back home early that day. So my wife had to reschedule our tickets, which we're up here today doing this train ride to make up for June. And after we get done, we have to drive all the way back. It's another 4.5 hours on the way back home. So I'll probably be posting this video as we drive using my mobile data to upload today's video. So it'll probably take me a while. If this video gets up late, that's why. It's because we're traveling while I'm trying to upload, and it's probably going to be kind of slow. So I don't want to make today's video too long either, because like I said, I'm going to be using mobile data to upload today's video. But what I wanted to talk about today is, oh, and by the way, very interesting, and I'm going to get this guy in the video. He'll probably be at the end. I'm probably going to add the clip, but as we were on the train just a few minutes ago, the guy that's like, I don't know who he is. I guess he's kind of like the server or something. Like, he takes care of everybody that's on the train, and make sure everybody's got drinks and things like that. And I guess he's like the tour guide or whatever, but he talks about the area that we're in and the train that we're on and all that kind of stuff. Make sure that everybody gets back in their seats when they're supposed to. He gives everybody drinks and things like that. But my point to this is the guy stopped by and just started talking with us, and was talking about this rapid that's actually right behind me. Straight back here, there's a rapid called Lesser Wesser. And as we were getting by it, he said, I'm one of only 20 people that's ever paddled that before. And I said, oh, that's neat. I've been down here myself and paddled. And he's like, oh, you're a boater. Anyway, we got to talking. I said, yeah, I used to kayak, but I got sick and I don't do it anymore. And he was telling me, I used to be an open boater, and telling me about how he used to canoe up here. And I told him, I used to canoe up here, I can kayak up here as well. And I don't remember how it got brought up, but he asked me if I'd ever paddled this river, I think is what brought it up. And I said, yeah, but it's been a few years. And he asked me, how long ago was it that you were up here? And I said, I don't know, probably about a decade ago was the last time that I came up here and kayaked. And somehow or another, he asked me if I'd ever seen anybody out in an open boat or a canoe with a Canadian helmet on. And I said, as a matter of fact, I have seen somebody like that. I said, is that you? And he was like, yeah, that's me. Long story short, this guy started telling me who he was, and I realized that I'd actually bought a canoe from this guy about 15 years ago. It's a really crazy story. I actually came up here and we all camped together up here, like I said, about 15 years ago. And this was back when I was a drinker. And of course, when we got to talking and I told him who I was, that I bought that canoe from him, he said, I remember you. You were that crazy guy that we were camping with. I was like, yeah, that's me, man. And I asked him, I said, would you mind coming on and doing a quick video with me and telling everybody about that? And he said, yeah. So hopefully here in just a few minutes, I'm gonna go up here and interview him and get him at the end of today's video, so you guys can check this out. It's such a small world. I just bumped into this guy on a train, and I camped with this dude like for 4 or 5 days up here on the Nantahala, all the way up in the national forest. We were all up here camping for a really long weekend years ago. And once again, I was drinking. I got super wasted drunk, showed my you-know-what, made a fool out of myself. The guy said, I'm gonna call my wife and tell her that you're here. And he called his wife, and she remembered who I was because of how crazy I used to be back in the day. And that's what he said. He said he told his wife, remember that weird guy that we were camping with, which was me. So once again, you know, I've been saying for a long time, I used to be that really crazy guy pretending to be somebody else that I really wasn't. It's just crazy. But the guy recognized me after we got to talking, and like I said, I'm gonna interview him at the end of today's video. But let's get into today's topic. What I wanted to talk about today is about how you know, we don't eat when we're in active addiction. I was going to talk about encephalopathy today, but I'm going to have to move that video to tomorrow. Since we're out here in the mountains and everything, I don't have any notes or anything with me, and I don't want to do a super long video today. But for the person that was asking for the encephalopathy video, I will be doing that tomorrow, and I will be talking with my wife in tomorrow's video as well. So if you guys have any questions or anything, throw them in yesterday's video if you don't mind in the comments, because that's where I'm going to be going to look for the questions. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about today, like I said, is, you know, how we don't eat when we're in active addiction, because we want to get the maximum amount out of our alcohol that we can. You know, so we go all day long not eating anything, trying to keep our belly, our stomach as empty as we possibly can, passing up really good food too. There were so many times that I went over to a friend's house and they were having a barbecue. They would have ribs or chicken wings or ribeye steaks or hamburgers on the grill, you know, things like that. And I always said no. Not to mention, you know, I was a chef. I was around good food all the time. Lobster, fresh lobsters too. You know, we would get hundreds of lobsters in and cook them off, and there'd be fresh lobster everywhere. Filet mignon, foie gras. I could have had my fill of foie gras, caviar, filet mignon, as much as I wanted every single day. I could have eaten to my heart's content. Duck. I could have had duck breast, duck cassoulet, whatever I wanted. Fresh scallops, U10 scallops, the big boys. You know, whatever I wanted. Huge shrimp. It didn't matter. I could have had whatever I wanted. But instead, I chose to keep an empty stomach because I wanted to be able to drink and get drunk as fast as I possibly could. And I really think that the fact that I didn't eat the way that I didn't eat, I think that really did play a huge role in the fact that I got sick the way that I did. Because when you're drinking, you know, massive amounts of vodka, half a gallon of vodka every single day, plus more, on an empty stomach like that, it's horrible. You know, it's being absorbed immediately into your bloodstream and just overloading every organ in our body with alcohol, especially our liver, completely overloading our liver with alcohol. It's got to process all of those toxins out of our blood. And when we just overload our system with alcohol like that, it puts a huge strain on our pancreas, our liver, our stomach, our esophagus, our intestines, just everything. It puts a really big strain, not to mention on your brain as well. And just think about how fast that alcohol is being absorbed when we don't eat. It's super duper quick, but that's what we do. That's the way that we like to drink when we're in active addiction, because, like I said, we get the maximum potential out of our alcohol and we get drunk as quick as we possibly can. And that's just not a healthy lifestyle. You know, so many people that I've known over the years that have, you know, became alcoholics, or a person with AUD, and just watching them over the years, you know, they used to be like a big hefty person, and over the years they've just gotten thinner and thinner and thinner. And, you know, have you ever seen somebody that drinks a whole lot and they're super skinny and they've got that big pot belly? You know, just a lot of people end up looking that way after drinking a whole lot, not eating like that. Is it ascites that's happening? Probably. But, you know, I know a lot of people that ended up looking that way. You know, the thing is, we just go around all day long drinking as much alcohol as we possibly can on an empty stomach like that. It's so bad for us. It truly is. Do you really want to go back to that? Think about how many nights that you've done that, where you were, you know, going all day long, not eating a thing, and then you got off of work, drank as fast as you possibly could, and then don't remember a thing after that. You completely black out. And all you remember is waking up at, you know, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're starving hungry. And that's when we go into the kitchen, you know, pull out everything that we can and just start shoving stuff in our mouth. Frozen pizzas, we put those in the microwave, start eating cold hot dogs. I mean, whatever it is that you can eat. You know, you just start eating whatever's left over in the fridge or whatever you got in the freezer. Like I said, you're throwing frozen pizzas in the microwave because that's all that you can do in the moment. It's just not a healthy way to live. And like I said, just think about that. Did you used to do that when you were in active addiction? Did you go around all day long not eating a thing and then drinking on that empty stomach like that just so you could get intoxicated as quick as you possibly can? I know for myself, that's all I did. I never ate. And you wouldn't think it either, because when I was in active addiction, I was a big guy. I weighed 250 pounds. I was fat. I mean, I really was. My face was always red. I had this huge belly on me, and I'm sure that a part of that belly was ascites. I was collecting fluid in my stomach. I just had no idea what it was. I know that I was collecting fluid in my legs. I had edema during that period of time, and I just blew it off like it was nothing. Whatever. It'll go away. I'll go to sleep tonight, wake up in the morning, it's gone. And guess what? Most days I would go to sleep and the next morning it was gone, so no big deal. You know, if I don't see it, it's not there. And that's just the way that I worked back in the day. If I didn't see it, it wasn't a problem. So I just brushed stuff off, covered things up, you know, put something over it so I didn't have to see it. I'll just cover that up with a towel so I don't have to see that, or I'll just put a sock over that so I don't have to see it. You know, it's just crazy. You just turn a blind eye to every single problem in my life when I was in active addiction, and especially my health. I didn't care about it at all, because all I cared about was getting drunk. That's it. And that's why I never ate anything. Like I said, always had an empty stomach. I used to feel sick all the time. I was always hungry. I could have sat down and ate 5 plates of food at any given time, I guarantee you. But I didn't want to, because I wanted to have an empty stomach. I wanted to feel that burn when I drank. Like, you know how some people dislike that feeling? I did not. I wanted to feel that feeling. That's all I ever wanted to feel, was that burning feeling in my stomach, that warm feeling in my stomach, and I wanted to feel drunk. So I never ate. And I did that 365 days a year. If I ate anything, it ruined my opportunity of getting drunk. I would have to wait until like the afternoon, because I had to let the food digest first. There was no way I was going to be able to drink with food in my stomach, so I just would not do it. The only time that I would ever eat was at night, and that was after I was, you know, wasted drunk. I'd gotten to the place where I wanted to be, but most times, whenever I got to where I wanted to be, I just kept going, and then I would finally just black out, and then I would never eat dinner. I used to wake up every single morning starving hungry, every day. And guess what? I'm sorry guys, I got something in my eye. But like I said, guess what? I didn't eat. I wouldn't eat. It didn't care how hungry I was. If I went to work and I was starving hungry, it didn't matter, because I had to keep my stomach empty for the alcohol. I would feel so lightheaded. I would start feeling shaky because I hadn't eaten anything. I had no idea that I had diabetes back then either. I was playing around with fire, being so dangerous. Walking around with diabetes every single day, my blood sugar was super low. Now I know the feeling. I know what was going on. I didn't know back then. And the feeling that I used to get was like super low blood sugar. Like, I'm talking like blood sugar in the 50s is the way that I felt back then. And now that I have you know, a glucose monitor on all the time, I can see how I feel when my blood sugar gets to certain places. And that feeling that I used to have was like down in the 50s, 60s blood sugar. And I wouldn't eat anything. I refused to eat anything. I wouldn't drink anything. I would stay thirsty all day long, because I knew at some point in the day I was going to be able to drink a beer. So instead of having some water, instead of drinking a soda, instead of having a Red Bull or something like that, instead, I didn't drink a thing. I would wait until I got in my vehicle to run to the store and buy some onions or squash or whatever it was. I'd run to the store, and on the way, I'd go reach back in the back, reach into my cooler, grab a couple beers, slam those really quick, and then go back to work. Then my belly was full with beer, and that's the way I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel my stomach full of alcohol, but not anything else. Because that feeling that I used to get from it, that burning, warm feeling that I had in my belly, I just always wanted to feel that. And so instead of nourishing my body and giving it what it needed, the vitamins, the nutrients, the minerals, the things that bring life. We have to feed ourselves. We have to drink water. And instead, I refused. I did that for years, probably a solid decade, that I didn't eat. I didn't drink water. All I did was consume alcohol for the most part. And if I did eat, it was when I was blackout drunk in the middle of the night, and I didn't even remember what I ate anyway. And I wasn't eating healthy, I can promise you that much. So, you know, I always passed up healthy meals, never would eat them. It's just, it was constant. You know, I went over to my parents' house. They'd invite us over for dinner, and my mom would be cooking wild-caught shrimp that they caught right off the coast of Beaufort, South Carolina. Some of the most delicious shrimp that you could ever eat in your life. They're so succulent and sweet. We'd go over there, and my mom would cook off pounds of these shrimp, and I would just say, no thank you, I'm just going to have my beer. And there would be these delicious shrimp sitting right there in front of me that my parents caught with their own two hands, and instead of eating it, I wanted to just drink. So I passed up on it. Everybody else sitting around the table was just loving the food. I didn't eat it. We go over to my family's house for Thanksgiving. I didn't eat because I wanted to have an empty stomach. I go over there for Christmas. I didn't eat. I wanted to have an empty stomach for my alcohol. Anytime that anybody prepared a nice meal for me, I wouldn't eat it. It didn't matter because I had to be able to drink. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Let's not go back to that lifestyle again. Let's not go back to that life of not eating, always feeling weak, always feeling shaky, always feeling like crap. You know, your stomach hurts all the time because you're never eating any food. You always feel like you're going to throw up because you haven't eaten anything. You just feel sick all the time. You have that knot in like the pit of your stomach just sitting there because you haven't put anything in your stomach in days. Let's not go back to that life again, guys. It truly is not worth it. Let's stay sober one more day. I know you guys can do it. Any of you guys watching this right now can stay sober one more day. I know you can. Let's not go back to that life of not eating anything, looking like crap all the time. You look so malnourished. I know you guys know what I'm talking about because when you get sober, we start to eat right again, we start to exercise, we start to look better. Just everything in our life starts to improve, especially our health. I mean, it's a night and day difference when we're in active addiction and when we're not. I mean, just number one, we actually eat food again. It just changes your life and it makes you feel just so much better. Like I said, guys, let's not go back to alcohol today. I know it's Saturday. I know it's tough. I know that you might have your neighbor asking you to come over for a barbecue tonight, or maybe you got invited over to your parents' house and they drank, or maybe you're going out to eat with some friends of yours and you know they're going to be drinking and you're trying to play with the idea of going back and maybe just having one beer today. It doesn't work that way, guys. One beer turns into 100, turns into years. Before you know it, you look back and you go, why did I go back? All these years were wasted, all the money that was wasted, all the problems that I've created with my family, and I was sober back 5 years ago. Why did I go back? Stay sober today, guys. I promise you that if you have a beer, if you have a drink tonight, you're gonna regret it. I promise you that you will. It is not worth going back to that lifestyle ever again. I'm out here right now in the mountains with my family, and I'm not trying to brag right now, but what I'm saying is that I got up this morning at like 6 o'clock this morning and we left. I got up, threw on some clothes, threw some stuff in my bag, and we got on the road and we were on the way up here. We got here about noon. If I had been drunk last night, there's no way in God's green earth that I could have made it up here. There's no way. I would have told my wife, we can't go. I would have been too hungover. I would have felt too bad. But I didn't. This morning I got up, we left. We got on the road, came up here. We've hung out all day long. We've been on the train. I've spent time with my family. We're down here by the river right now. I'm sober as all get out. And guess what? We're going to leave and drive home tonight. If I was still drinking, there's no way I would do that. I would have told my wife, we've got to stay here tonight. We would have went to some restaurant here in town, and I would have got wasted drunk. She would have been upset with me, and I would have been too hungover to drive tomorrow. So she would have had to have driven home tomorrow. That would have been what would have happened if I had been drinking today. But I'm not, and I'm sober, and I'm enjoying my life, spending time with my family, and in doing fun things. And I'm doing them sober, and so can you guys. It just takes a little getting used to. This sober life can be done. I promise you. I never thought anything like this would ever be possible, and here I am. If I can do it, so can you. I promise you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I'm gonna try to catch that guy and film that video really quick. And you know, like I said, let's not go back to that life, not eating every single day. We don't eat a thing just to have an empty stomach so we can get drunk again. That's what's happening. Let's not go back to that life again. Until tomorrow, guys, I will see y'all then. I love y'all so much, and I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day today. Let's stay sober one more day. Until tomorrow. Hey guys, well, I was just talking about the guy that I met on the train, and this is him. So we were on the train, and somehow or another we started talking about boating. The Nantahala River's right here beside us right now, and we were talking about boating, and somehow or another, I don't remember how we realized that we knew each other. But anyway, we were talking about being up here and paddling, and come to find out, I know this guy. And he was saying, do you remember a guy that used to paddle with a Canadian helmet on his head? And I said, man, I know you. I bought a canoe from this guy. Anyway, and I've camped with him. We camped up here, what, about 15 years ago? It was a long time ago. And this is back when I used to be a drinker. And I kind of pissed this guy off that night because I used to be so wild when I got drunk, like I always said. I know I showed my you-know-what that night when we were camping, but I was a wild maniac back then for sure, and this guy's solid. I mean, how crazy was I back then?
Well, if there was a wall, I'd have put your head through it, that's for sure.
All right, I'll put it to you like this. His wife, who only saw me that one weekend, still remembers who I am 15 years later when he told his wife that, when he called her and said, you remember that guy from the camping trip? She remembered who I was, and his daughter remembered who I was because I was so wild. And like I said, I used to be a lunatic. Tell us about who you are, man.
My name's Porter. I was a canoe and whitewater instructor up here for many, many years. And now I'm actually working on the train that's in front of us that runs through the Nantahala Gorge.
How long have you been doing this, man?
I actually just started this gig.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, my wife and I travel all the time. We don't stay anywhere longer than 4 months.
Well, it's the mountain stuff. You run into these people up in the mountains. The same people are always frequenting these areas, like myself. I mean, I've been coming up here since I was a kid, and I can't stop coming up here, and I'm bringing my family up here now. You're not from this area, though.
No, originally from Canada.
You're from Canada. What part of Canada are you from?
Near Toronto.
Near Toronto? I got a lot of Canadian followers on here, so
Gotcha.
I'm sure those guys be happy to see you on here.
Yeah, well,
how long has it been since you've been gone from Canada?
Oh, well, I was there last year, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did a cross-country trip.
Oh, okay.
Drove
nice,
across
man.
the United States and then drove across Canada on the way back.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought it was a really crazy story that, like I said, I bumped into this guy on the train that I used to paddle with back in the day. Well, we didn't paddle back in the day, but we were on one. We were on a
long weekend trip.
Yeah, we did one big, really long weekend trip together. It was the first time I met him, and the first weekend I met him, I made enough of an impression. At 15 years, he still remembers who I am.
I'm happy everything's good now.
Yeah, but now I'm sober. I don't drink anymore. 3.5 years sober. And it was really crazy because when we first saw each other, I think both of us knew we had seen each other somewhere before. I knew I'd seen this guy somewhere, but we finally recognized who each other was. But anyway, I just wanted to bring him on, and I thought that was a really crazy story because, like I said, back when I was drinking, I was a wild guy. But thank you so much for coming on, man.
Absolutely,
I really appreciate
brother.
it. All right, guys. See y'all later.